All right. So maybe it will show us what it doesn't show. The video doesn't show the names. On my screen here, I have your name. I can see that you're Shannon MacArthur. And then when I capture the video, the pieces are here. The people are talking, but the names are missing. And I can't remember names.
Oh,
So,
and why should you have to? This is tech.
well,
It's supposed to do that for us.
What I'm gonna do is when we have a bunch of us on the screen, I'm gonna take a screenshot with all the names and I'll put that away.
Great idea.
Yeah.
And that can be
that'll go with the chat and the copy of it'll go into a place on you'll click on it. I was amazed how well the chat comes up really fast where I put it, and the video comes up and it plays really nicely, and I have to worry about can you hear me really well? Or my kind of
when you lean back, I can't hear you as well. So yes, you do need to be
up front here.
Yeah. It's not on your.
No.
And I'm playing with mine. I should put my other one in.
I don't know how to do that. It's not here. It's in the computer someplace. I'm not even sure where it is.
Oh, I think it's.
Well, this is a Apple Macintosh laptop, really old, and somewhere in it. Well, I used to refurbish computers. That was my business for 20 years, and I love old computers, and I see no reason to stop using this machine because this machine does everything that I'm doing. It's not block me. I have another machine that does older stuff, and when I need stuff that I used to be able to use 10, 15 years ago, I go to that machine, and I still can use those things.
I don't have a lot of tech. I have a few pieces, and they either serve me or I'm sunk. And it's actually part of my challenge right now is dealing with the tech. And it's been that way for about 3 years. And so I keep butting my head up against that wall, hoping to find a way through it. But maybe I'll find a way around it. I don't know.
Yeah. I interrupted you, but we should say hello to Carlos. If he can hear us, he may not hear us yet.
Carlos, can you hear us yet?
No.
Can you hear us yet? Can you hear us yet?
Well, I'm sure he'll tell us when he's ready.
I think so.
He's not muted as far as I can tell.
Okay.
Hello.
Well, there he goes.
You are. Yay.
Hi.
Nice to see you, Carlos. I enjoyed having you in chat today.
Oh, great. I love education. I work in education for several years and I have a very good experience with doing it.
Excellent. I don't have a lot of education, and I haven't had good experience with education, but I find that education, the more education I got, the less connected with the natural world I was. And so I made my choices.
Okay, that's great to be connected. I feel happy. My heart is open. My English is solely very well. It's not a perfect English.
We understand you. Yeah, that's all that matters. And actually, I was worried about languages as I was preparing to sit down here. If we manage, and
Heart don't have barriers.
I didn't understand that. You know what he said? Something about ears, but I don't.
Yeah, Stanley, we're achieving some backlog and some glitches happening, and Melina is coming in.
Melina is trying to get in, and we'll see. We can't make it work better than it does. I was about to say that if we succeed in unifying the world, what a sad thing, because we might lose thousands of beautiful languages and cultures. What will happen if, with all that diversity, if we manage to succeed in unifying the world, and I don't think we want to get too far into that.
And Stanley, I don't believe that we're going to homogenize humanity.
That's good.
I truly believe it's more like the cells and organs in our body.
Mm-hmm.
They are not one kind of cell. And so I feel that this is just the fractal nature of nature, of all it is. And so we're going to see, heart cells, and we're going to see skin cells and liver cells and kidney cells, but they're going to be, God-sized and different functions. This is the fun part, figuring it all out.
Yes. So Carlos, where are you in the world?
In Chile, in the
Chile.
south of Chile, in a medium city, 2,000 to 100,000 people. Now it's raining, good, very good for us.
I'd just like to say hi to Malini. She's staying off video until the internet stabilizes. And I'm so glad you're listening, Malini. We're here for you. We hope it to be entertaining.
And where were you?
I'm in Philadelphia on the east coast of North America. And Shannon is in the west coast, is that right?
Yeah, just 3 hours in from the west coast of North America, in Canada. Okay. In Kamloops, BC, about 200,000, well, less than 200,000 people.
Oh, I love Canada. I had a very wonderful days in Toronto.
Well, that's the other side of the country, and
yes,
quite
other
different.
Side.
Quite different.
Yeah.
Carlos, we should make sure you know that we're recording this session, and I'll post it on the internet sometime tonight. So if you don't want to be recorded, you need to say so.
We should stop now.
Yeah.
No, I don't have problems.
Okay, no, that's good. One person wrote in the chat for this that we did yesterday. This is our second day. And somebody
yes.
wrote in the chat yesterday, why can't we not bother with the recording? And I think it was pretty unanimous that people wanted to have that done, even if they don't get a chance to look at it. And she sort of was wondering, well, why can't we just talk to each other and not have it recorded? But I enjoyed watching what we did yesterday because I can't think about too many things at once. So if I'm going to understand what somebody's saying and what I'm thinking about at the same time, I get lost. And so I need to watch somebody say it again, and then I can.
That's great.
That's great. So how long have you been a teacher? Right, I would expect that.
Well, I'm not a teacher, but I work as a trainer because I am an environmental consultant, and I was specialized in environmental education, and I train with a lot of people, and start to be a kind of an official master of environmental education and innovating. I work with synthesis of different methods of education, different cultures. I work with the research about the human culture, and I synthesize a special method that unite different cultures with the unity of mankind. I'm part of the Sufi tradition. I am Buddhist, I am shamanic, I am a Western civilized man, and I try to put it together in harmony.
That's a lot of
good luck with
practice.
that.
Yes. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Milani has offered to say something. She's not turning on her video because of slowness in her signal. So, Nalini, are you?
Yeah.
Okay,
like I was telling you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Like I was discussing with you earlier, it's important to be recording all these sessions because this is history in the making, quite literally. Um, I don't think ever such a group of people have come together, converged, shared, disagreed, agreed, ever in on this scale and in this level of complexity and diversity before. So this is history in the making, and it's a good thing to record it and keep it there for posterity, because we can look back and see where we were right, where we were wrong, where things went the way we thought and wanted them to go and didn't go, or where they did go. And history is always learning, you know, and this is really a momentous time in human history. That's what I wanted to offer. So anytime anybody has uh, any doubts about why we are recording, you have it. You can say that.
Thank you for saying that, Malini. That's really powerful to me. When I had an epiphany when I was 15, I was on my knees by the river in the darkness of the night, and I walked the pathway of the light on the water, and my eyes went up to the face of the full moon, and my heart leaped out of my chest at the moon, and I said, "Help me." And I didn't know how I could be helped, but the storm in my body stopped. And when I realized that I had been helped, I realized that I should offer something in return. And as my mind was scurrying around trying to find something that the moon would value that I had, my mouth opened up and said, "I will speak for you. When the time is right, I will speak for you." And ever since, I've been trying to figure out who the you was that I was supposed to be speaking for. and so I've been watching, and I've got a pretty good idea that I know now who I'm speaking for. And that is the collective I that I call you, the I inside everyone. This is the fun part. That was something else that came out of my mouth that I didn't plan to say.
Yeah,
And
well,
this is what we came here for.
well, it sounds like that was you telling, not you, but your spirit inside that was telling you, I'll talk to you when I'm ready. You hang on there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. It was interesting, and to see that others are experiencing liminal moments of their own and coming into this forum. This is yes, history making. I had a dream where I was, well, I could go on and on. See, that's the thing, is I write stories. And so the stories are very important to me. I've been writing stories ever since I realized that my life was magical. And so I'll stop talking now. I want to hear you guys. I want to hear your stories. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, we should have some more people showing up in a little bit. I'm not sure just what will happen, of course. But this kind of activity is something that I've been thinking about for a very long time, bringing people together so that they can share and learning. And today's education day on Humanity Rising it told me that what we need to do is to send kids out to the woods with cameras and let them talk to other kids around the world and other adults and tell them what they find and tell them what they think and encourage them to express themselves. And that's a good way to learn. They don't have to be told that they're teaching, but they will be. And they teaching and learning at the same time, out in the woods or in the garden or wherever under the ocean. Um, yeah. So, and I've had a fairly extensive conversation with Milani. I would like to know Carlos a little better, and I've followed Shannon's website through the creek beds and the sand and the footsteps, and so I've seen a bunch of this beautiful and the poetry.
Thank you.
The problem, of course, with any of this is there's so much. Is
Lean in, Stanley. We're losing your
okay,
words.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
There's so much going on in the
Yeah.
world. Hi, there's Anne Marie. Hi.
Hi, I'm
good.
Stan.
So
Yeah.
I'm Stan, and there's
Hi, nice to meet you. And
Nice to
who's
meet you, Anne-Marie.
there? Let's see. Shannon, hi. Hi, Carlos. Malini. Oh, I recognize names. Very nice meeting you all.
yeah. That's why I started this, because the names will keep popping up in the chats. The people that are the most active, and hey, we should actually meet each other. This chat thing that they don't let you save. I have to struggle to save the chats from the Humanity Rising, but I've
Yeah.
managed to do a lot of that. And so then yesterday I decided we should have some way of talking to each other, and like 15 people showed up. So we'll see. Now there's 5 of us. We'll see how many come over time.
Yeah. Stan, actually, today's session was kind of explosive. I mean, I was looking at following the chat, getting a little better at following the speaker and the chat at the same time. That's quite
That's
a
a
bit
challenge.
of gymnastics. Yes. Yeah. So I guess people are kind of mentally a bit exhausted after that 2 hours of listening, interacting. But like Sharon said to share, um, in one of my 10 years stint, I started my professional life somewhere down the line, some 45 years ago as a teacher. After science, teaching has been my first love. Science was a passion, but teaching was my love. And funnily enough, I never could fit into the traditional teaching system, but I was very, very lucky. I met with a principal who was so far-sighted in her concept of what education should be that over an hour's discussion, she said, "You got to come and work in our school." And what was my job? My job was to integrate the entire curriculum into field trips so that they learned what they were to learn as per the syllabus, but outside the classroom. And I told her that, look, I cannot do this horizontally. This has to be done vertically. We have to take, because the schools are divided between the lower KG and up till the fifth standard, they are physically in one school. And then 6th, 7th, 8th are in another school physically. And then the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, which is what they call junior college here, is in another school. I mean, this is the normal pattern because the school infrastructure required to put so many of them, all the classes in one building is a bit difficult. And in India, we normally have, on an average, 45 children in a class. Well, you have the kind of population we have. What else do you expect? And if education has to be given to everyone. So I used to take 12th standard, 10th standard, 11th, 10th, 9th, 8th, all together vertically, which was something like, say, about 120 kids on a field trip. And boy, did I need my head checked. But I was very young, full of beans, and thought I could conquer the world. So I did it. And as a result of it, I don't know how many modules were developed and how many templates were developed because I was developing it as we went along. And the beauty of it was, I left after a year of it because of the politics and because everybody's confidence was being rattled, because the children were learning more, better, performing better. And I was just the substitute teacher who would take over a class, a group of children. And we did some amazing things really out there in the field. You know, history is not easy to teach in a field trip. But you take kids to the museum and ask them to look at everything in a very structured way. And the stuff they come out with is unbelievable. And history is not my subject. So we had kids doing things like going into a particular era, period that they were studying in their history. And I would say, okay, can you go and draw all the jewelry all the women are wearing in that period? Can you draw the hairstyles? Can you see if you can and look at the plants that are being depicted in the paintings or the frescoes or and you know, I was learning more than the kids were learning. And they had to, of course, report it in a proper structured manner. Apparently, I left and the principal just copied those templates and ran it for about 10 years. And when she left the school, it died a natural death. But I've always been a very strict advocate for vertical education, because a lot of organic learning happens when you have older children and younger children engage in an activity. I've seen skill transfer, talent transfer, care for one another. I never forget, there was a botany lesson that they had to do, and one of the classes had to do water testing. So we went to the dirtiest river and we picked up samples and they looked at the plants and stuff like that. And one kid almost slipped and fell in. And it was amazing how all the other kids just sort of made a chain and pulled him out. You know, you cannot replace that kind of learning that takes place. And it's a pity that that's not being done. And environmental education particularly is really, really something that can and should go vertical. But I don't know if there are any educationists anywhere, and because I put a lot of stuff in the chat, if they are looking at it, I would be happy to just share those templates and you guys take it forward. But 10 years ago, when I studied environmental law, and I was asked to set up the curriculum for the Delhi University on environment education. It was a 12-week module that we set up for them. And since I had the training, I taught them how to do an energy audit. And after we did the energy audit of the school, the college, we told them to do the energy audit in their homes. And that was something, you know, which was mind-opening for them. Some of them didn't even know what an electricity bill looked like. Some of them didn't know where the electricity meters was. So then I said, okay, go to your physics teacher and learn how the meterage is calculated and how the wattage is calculated and stuff like that. So, you know, in today's day and age, we can go digital, we should go digital, but what needs to be done is a massive rework of the curriculum, the structure, the lesson plans. What is happening is the old format lesson plans are just being, you know, vomited out digitally. That's not going to work. It will serve a purpose for a very limited piece of time. But if we want to go forward, because in India, digital education is so essential, because then you can reach the last kid in the row, the last mile access. The poorest of the poor can have access to it. Because you know, schooling in India is not just about paying the school fees. It's about buying the books, buying the uniform, getting your pocket money to spend in the tuck shop, your cost of traveling to and fro. In India, a lot of states have done that. They give the uniform, you know, and that is only the government schools, not the private schools. They give them the cloth for the uniform, but who pays the tailor to stitch it? You know, so when you are from that lower income background, schooling is not your priority, because it's not just the fees. The fees is almost $1 or $2 for the whole year, or sometimes it's free. But there's so many other things that go into physically attending school. And another thing that is there in India is a lot of the children who really need to be in school come from families where they need to work. So they work 9 to 5 and school's not available for them. So if we have to make it a level playing field and an equitable, universe, we have to go digital because it is a solution. But then the content needs to be totally reworked. The lesson plans, the curriculum, the way the subject matter is dealt with. It can be very engaging. I mean, it doesn't have to be, I talk, you listen, and you raise your hand and answer notes. It doesn't need to be that way at all. So I'm done. That's my contribution.
Thank you, Malini. A beautiful
Oh.
talking about India and a different world from my upbringing. Hello, LM.
Hello.
I'm sorry, I show up as LM or I show up as Lane. I'm never sure why.
Okay. It's possible
Hi,
for you
Lane.
to change it if you would like to put your name in.
You if you'd like.
Oh,
I can do it for you if you would like to, if you'd like me to do that. Why don't you go to the participants thing at the bottom and click on yourself and there's a button for changing your name.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. I didn't know that one.
Well, there's a lot of stuff to know about this.
Actually,
yes.
Diane?
quite Zoom shy and usually camera off, but I thought under this forum it wouldn't quite be fair.
Well, it's nice
We're
to see you.
recording you, Lane.
Oh, yes, that's fun.
Recording.
We are recording this session so that if you don't want to be recorded, that won't work. Or you
Well,
can leave your picture
I
off.
have to pop off for an appointment, so I don't know, maybe you want me to keep my camera off because I won't be able to spend much time, so I don't want to be a distraction other than I already have been. I might apologize.
No, but you should tell us a little bit about yourself and welcome
And-
Anne-Marie.
Interrupt Stan, if I may. Here it's almost 8 o'clock in the evening, so I need to start preparing dinner pretty soon. So I won't stay for long either because it's dinner time, so that you know. But
Well, if you can listen to us, Anne-Marie, while you're cooking, that would be lovely. And Lane, if you have to go, we're bereft without you. And what I would like to just add in at this point is that Carlos was kind enough to share with us that he is an educator down in Peru who is into regeneration. And
I think he
one
said
of
Chile.
the Chile, I'm sorry, South America somewhere.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. And so one of the organizations that I'm familiar with is Earth Regenerators, and I've added their link into the chat because they're talking about what you're doing, Carlos. So I hope you get a chance to have a look at what they're doing.
Right.
Welcome, Diane. Thank you, Stanley, for giving me the space.
Thank you.
Anyway.
Hi, Shannon.
Yeah,
Hi.
we haven't heard from Lane, and we haven't really heard from Anne-Marie. Were you here yesterday? You look a little familiar.
But I've spoken with Kurt briefly over the phone because I'm also in Los Angeles, and he said he wanted to create a Los Angeles tribe, but we've not connected after that first conversation. So
Well, he came
that
along.
was just last week. So I think
He came along here yesterday for a little while, and
Yeah.
why don't you tell us what you do there in Los Angeles?
well, I call myself a wandering creative. Came to LA, with the acting in my cap with a degree in theater, and allowed acting to be the thing that gave me the best growth in my life. And since then, I've just been looking at my creative talents and my writing talents. I've had a play shopped around London. I founded a nonprofit for a children's curriculum to go through the schools because of my interest in what happened in my childhood. And I was president of Los Angeles Mumbai Sister City Affiliation. And I had also was a founding board member of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital here in Los Angeles, the Los Angeles chapter. And I just see, in knowing my own childhood and what happened there, and knowing that childhood is the foundation that sets us for the rest of our life, I have an interest in doing what I can. Although my perspective of it is, I think, very different than a lot of people. So in 2008, I created a nonprofit that was intended to, very similar to Sister Cities, connect children around the world. And when President Eisenhower created Sister Cities in 1959, it was with the intention of person-to-person connection will bring peace in the world. Because if you have friends in Turkey, if you have friends, in Greece, which in itself is kind of funny that those are the two that come to mind, but then you have friends, and you care about what takes place in that part of the world. And that's what's happened coincidentally in my life. And I wanted to extend that into a curriculum. And I was very lucky in that I got every board member who I requested, from a person who creates curriculum and liked the plan, from the wife of a Los Angeles council member, to a famous actor. And then the crash happened in 2008, and I started scrambling to save my home. So it's only been recently, after listening to some of the speakers here on Humanity Rising, I actually thought the idea was passé because of what's happened with the internet since 2008-9. I have to look back and see when I actually wrote that. But I'm actually thinking now, after listening to Humanity Rising, there might be a place for that to facilitate. It would be, of course, need to be revamped, but that there could be a place to help young people throughout their school age connect with others around the world. This was something that started in grade 1, connecting children, increased every year with the connections in each grade, and then culminating at the high school level of bringing them together in a gathering, so they finally would get to meet these people who they had communicated with all of their lives. And there's steps and engagements all along the way. And the most I can say is that my proposal did garner every board member I requested. So I was very happy with that. But it's, like I say, it's sat there since the crash of a decade ago. So so that's where I am. And I'm actually very willing to hand that off to somebody if they like the concept. But it's not the only reason I'm here today, but it's really related to the conversation that happened. And so I'm considering that. And we have to take care of our children. We have to teach our children. And there's so many parents out there who are bereft themselves and don't even know what to do with their kids. And that's what hurts me, because that's what happened in my childhood. Nobody showed me care in my childhood. And I feel incredibly fortunate to have brought myself through the path that I have with very minimal input. And people often say, how did you not end up out on the street? And I don't really have an answer for that. I just never listened to the voice that said, end it all. And I always listened to this pinprick in my consciousness. It was like a pinprick hole in a vast sheet of blackness that said, don't do it. And I didn't know what that voice was, but it was the tiniest voice in the world that stopped me from taking my life. And I never tried anything against myself, but that voice was there every day of my childhood. I probably purged it about 7 years ago. And having had that travel, that journey through life of saving oneself, I think there's something there to share, because I always feel so badly when somebody takes their lives. I'm not out to be a lifesaver in terms of suicide. I don't want to be in that arena. But I go back to, I think the speaker's name today was Patrick. To me, he spoke most clearly. It is about care. It's about care. And the people who stand out in my childhood are those few people who pass through my education system who reached out to me as best they could when in my personal life there was nobody showing me love. And the system that I came up with children was actually to engage them at an emotional level so they have friends around the world. So they reach out to those people with someone to talk to, even if it's with computers, which they're born into. They don't even think about it. You know, we're the ones who are behind. The children are up to speed with technology. And that's part of my plan, was to use technology, obviously, to bring them together, but to establish real friendships as opposed to these superficial ones that it's just about a photo, and that has its place. But I think really establishing true connection as best as possible with technology and allowing that to culminate in that real life contact that has also created patience, because if they can't see each other for most of their childhood, but knowing they're going to see each other when they're 17, when they're graduating, that is something to look forward to and, you know, establish. Anyway, there's my, there's a little bit about me.
Okay, well, thank you. I put into the chat that you might want to meet my friend, and I have a service website I run called Other Networks and Wikidelphia. I have two, actually I have three, but and Nancy runs a service that makes matches between creative people and publishers.
Ah, lovely.
So you might be interested in that.
Thank you so much.
I'll figure out how to get that information to you. I don't have it yet. I'll
Yeah.
put it in the chat, or we'll see. You should know we're recording this. Did I tell you, Diane and Anne Marie? Okay, you know that we're recording this, and maybe who would like to go next and tell us about yourself? Anne Marie, you want to speak to us?
Yes. So I'm based in Brussels, Belgium. I feel like I'm the only one from Europe here in this gathering. Could be. Anyway, I'm not far from Jim. I'm only a short train ride away, and the topic of education is one that is dear to my heart. I was an educator, but at university I was teaching Portuguese at university about 30 years ago. Then I left, and I've always kept some kind of a teaching activity, mostly today in organizations, where I teach a lot of what Jim named today, which is emotional intelligence and whole systems health and relationship building and soft skills mostly. So, and I have two daughters, and the youngest one, who is 17, she's highly creative, and she's very bright. She manages to, despite the deep frustration she's experiencing every day, sitting in a classroom when she's actually so kinesthetic that it's very hard for her to sit on a chair for a couple of hours. And she's so creative that she's bored to death in the school, and she has 1 year to go. So we've been trying to help her, navigate a school system that turns out to be good in some ways, but really not good for her in other ways. And every day almost, I'm faced with this inadequacy. The educational system is just inadequate and is certainly not suitable for bright kids, creative kids, the ones that were born to actually make us shift into a new paradigm. For them, it's really hard. So I have lots of empathy. I try to support her in the way I can, but she could be teaching some of the teachers, right? Because because she comes and many of her generation, they come with this almost inbuilt wisdom, inbuilt sensitivity. It's almost like they came in with already the programming that helps them see impacts, and therefore I'm just looking for ways now to extend the work that I do for adults to the younger generation, so that A, they feel they are normal. The problem is not them. And B, to help them navigate our world, which they have sort of inherited and don't comprehend much. And I think the problem is that the traditional educational system, at least here, is so traditional. I mean, I'm French and Portuguese, and I live in Belgium. And I don't know if you experience the same, but in France, for example, every time there's been an attempt to reform the educational system, you know, you had thousands of teachers in the streets demonstrating. This education is the hardest sector to reform. It's the hardest.
Right, and the people in this presentation today, we're extolling the virtues of getting the education process to make our children understand how to fix the world. And Diane, do you want to talk to us? Or Shannon, are you done? Okay.
I'm still here, just moving around.
Okay. Sorry. Anne-Marie?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, you just...
Stan, I have a question for Anne-Marie.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask her, is there any way in her daughter's school that she could ask the teachers if her daughters could take a class, or would that be unacceptable?
Thank you, Malini. Already to introduce mindfulness was such a huge thing. And then actually last year, there's been a reform of the content, the curriculum. And so this past year that my daughter experienced was the first year of this new curriculum that the French government designed, because she's in a French school here in Belgium. And it was just a chaos for the whole year, because the teachers had to adapt to a new curriculum, and the kids, and they were not up to date, and they were not fast enough. And so it's, right now they are trying to settle into a new curriculum. So that's the tricky part, that at this moment in time, anything new can be a challenge for them, because they're still trying to adjust. And really what is fascinating is to see, we've experienced it, and we saw the fact that what they were asked now to deliver really didn't fit their mindset. There's really a mindset shift that is radically needed. It's not just a new curriculum, content, it's a new mindset that is needed, a new approach to education. And the teachers, while some of them were okay, most of them were completely lost with this new system and this new curriculum. So yeah, your question is great, Malini. And right now, they're struggling.
Yeah, but that's all the more reason why, I've always found teachers are the most difficult to change or teach to. But if they are struggling and you have creative, intelligent children, then maybe you could suggest they do a tutorial system till the teachers find their feet, where your daughter could take a few students and tutor them. No teacher likes being replaced in front of the class. I mean, I know that that's a tough one, but you know, they're open to tutorial system when you offer to say, okay, we will take 5 or 10 and we will tutor them in this subject and help you and support you. You could try that. I don't know how it would work culturally. In India, it works like a dream. If any student goes and tells a teacher, I want to teach, can I take 10 students and tutor them? She'll say, please, please, please do.
Wonderful.
You know, so you could try that, because it's such a crying waste of talent when you have talented, creative, intelligent children and they are not allowed to use their talent to the larger benefit of the group, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Malini, isn't that the vertical system of education that you were talking about?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, I completely support that. We had them in the one-room schoolhouses that we had in the small communities of North America, and still have. My mother went to a school that had from kindergarten right up to grade 10. And then she had to leave town to go for her 11 and 12. And so vertical teaching happened within those small classrooms. And if you were advanced, you listened to the stuff that interested you. And it engaged all of the kids, and they knew what they were going to be learning. So they would concentrate on the things that they needed to know so that they could learn the big stuff, you know. And I really feel that what we're coming back to in this pandemic is small schools where children of different grades come together and teach each other. And it's through the engagement with each other that they learn from each other. And if it's always from the teacher down, we get used to being fed, you know, and we need to go learn to search, learn to watch, learn to listen, and learn to care. And so thank you for listening.
I'd
No,
like to
absolutely right.
I had when I was in Paris for the first time many years ago. So I didn't observe that last year when I was there. I wasn't in a place to. But what I noticed in the playgrounds is, for the most part, parents outside reading a magazine or a book, while the children were literally taking care of each other. They weren't, in America, there's a lot of checking in and pleading after the parents' attention. But what I saw at that time was an older sibling taking care of a younger sibling or a younger child. And I found it really very interesting that older kids were taking care of younger kids, and then the slightly younger kids were taking care still of the even younger kids. So they were all minding each other and not calling for the parents' attention. I was quite taken by that experience back then. In support of observation.
I really love what you're saying, Lane, and I'm curious to see how this is going to come out. It does seem to, in my mind, of course, it's always comes back to my project, right? But the idea that I have been given is called Our Heart Gardens, and it is communities of people in neighborhoods that grow food together and spend their time together. You too, Lane, hey?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're on the same page. The concept was given to me as Our Heart Gardens because it is the heart of the one that we are that is growing by finding each other in the liminal or the I lost the word, the butterfly cells, imaginal cells. We're finding each other, and this is so much fun. I am so grateful to find you guys, and I have to go and honor the practical side of my life. My mother is here, and so Thank you so much for listening. Play amongst yourselves. I'll see you guys tomorrow, okay?
See you, Shannon. Bye.
Bye, Melina, Elaine, Anna Marie, Diane, Stanley. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for being here.
Pleasure.
Inviting.
Yeah. So I'm trying to keep track of
No,
who's here.
if I speak, can anybody hear that?
Yes, we can hear you. Please do
Thank
speak.
you.
We haven't heard much from you yet.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. First of all, the reason I had to leave just then was because within my community, I'm in London, for example, and the Extinction Rebellion people came and planted a garden in the middle of the street, like on the main street. And, I haven't stepped outside of the house. Well, I've stepped onto my balcony since March. And they said, oh, can you organise the community to help do whatever, to water the flowers? They need watering every day. I was wary because for 20 years or more, there's a nature garden very close to my house. And I've done free cake on Sunday and come and help with this and all sorts over the years. And it's very rare for anyone to join in on anything. And never mind, I'm quite happy doing it. So I've done all that. But when the XR people said, can you organise some people to water? I thought, I'll just ask one person. And the one person actually moved it. So now there's a stream of people come to my door at 7 o'clock every evening and collect watering cans. I've put the watering cans there ready so they needn't call through to me or anything. But it means I keep getting disturbed. So I apologise about that. But it's community garden and it's the neighbourhood and everybody doing it together, which is a really good thing. Education wise, this afternoon I tuned into the HR thing late because my daughter came with my grandchildren, and I've got 6 kids. The oldest is 52 and the youngest is 30 something, but I had 2 kids and then a space of 10 years and then I had 4 more. The second set of kids, there's no way I wanted to send them to school. So I was going to leave England forever and just go and live in the mountains in Morocco or something like that because I can't send them to school. And in fact, I got as far as London and got delayed here. I've been here ever since. I've been here 30 plus years now, but I did home educate them. So therefore, 4 of them, they went to school when they got to be secondary school, so 13, 14. But the one that came today with her 2 children, who are now, my grandchildren are 14 and 12, maybe, something like that. But she's really against all the home education. It's not so much she believes in the system. She knows it's a load of rubbish. They have terrible trouble at school. It's heartbreaking. They're all now thinking, oh, we'll leave London because the schooling is so bad. But the system itself is going to be the same wherever they go. We had a conversation because I talked to her about all this kind of thing, and we had a conversation about my views. And I know you think they shouldn't go to school, they can learn it, blah, blah, blah. But what her view is that they need to stay in the system and do the things that the system tells them to because that's real life, Mom. Don't you realise this is real life? They need to go to university. They need to get a job and all the things that I try and tell them they don't need to do. I can't argue with her too much because she's out there in the real world. It's like for you, you're just a pensioner. But, it's very true. The children and actually their parents, so my children's age, if not 30s and 40s, who've got kids going through life at the moment, how can we say to them, look, going to school is a waste of time? If they just read some books and, learn to love each other, all the stuff I say, be nice to each other, be emotionally intelligent. I have to say, they do understand that. My grandchildren are really emotionally intelligent and care about the planet and all sorts of stuff like that. But they're also strongly being encouraged to join in on the inverted commas real world, the world of finance, but partly because I'm really aware that particular daughter feels that she's deprived because she doesn't understand it and didn't go to university. She thinks she missed out on that. I can't argue with her. Maybe when she gets to 50 or something, she'll realise it didn't make any difference. but I can't, you know, she's encouraging them. If you need to, if you want to go to university, you're going to have to do your studying and stuff like that. And again, I can't argue with her. But I see that it's very difficult for people, you know, we, if you like, HR. That's why I thought this was an attractive thing, because if we can invent a substitute system, just, I mean, one of my ideas would be that instead of having a classroom, because the middle of London, classrooms that have got 30 plus teenagers who've all got no manners and no consideration of their fellow human beings, who play up all the time and who get you on the way home, and you know, you can't go to school with a good watch on because you're going to get it robbed and all this sort of stuff. How can we teach them something different? You know, so I'd like to do, for example, classrooms of 6 or 7 people where you don't have to go into a school to do it, where you go from one place to another. You learn about how to act on the streets because you're going from one place to another. You have teachers. We have so many teachers here can't get jobs because the older generation has got the teaching jobs. And really, we could have one older generation and one newly qualified person who both teach together, and they could share, you know, 6 or 7 or 10 kids or something. We could, yeah, it's possible to invent a whole new system, is what I think.
It sounds like private school as opposed to public schools. Because in my case, with my children, we sent them out of our neighborhood because our neighborhood had poor schools, and we sent them to a school that took them once a week out to the countryside, and they got to see some nature, and they forced them from the day they start the pre-K, the pre-kindergarten kids are sitting and reading. They had to read for at least 20 minutes a day, and by the time my son was in 3rd grade, I go in his bedroom and, what you doing? Oh, I'm reading a book. Oh, okay. I knew I had done my job. I got out of there. He's reading a book for pleasure.
Yes.
He's not been told to read it. He's just enjoying it. And that was my understanding that he had graduated to self-directed learning. Because the school, I mean, and it cost us a bit of money. We couldn't find a way to do what they got in the public school system in Philadelphia. And to hear people from other parts of the world, from Belgium, and complain about the school system, I'm okay. See, I thought that we had the worst here, but maybe not.
You know, Diane, it's surprising you say the British education system is not as good as it was, because I'm from a generation of initial in my career where we were told, go to England and learn how they run their schools and how they teach their kids.
Absolutely.
And we've had a pretty decent education curriculum completely rewritten, because we were told that, well, there were lots of good things that were happening when I was a student and a new teacher. But we were told that what's being taught there is what's important. And you know, the college curriculum is totally what is being taught in Northern America and USA. And the schools are also now, because it's a, you know, domino effect, what you teach in school has to be followed up in college. But I don't know how it is in other countries, but in India, the biggest businesses, you know, money's, you know, the economy is where the money is. The first is religion, the second is education, and the third is medicine, you know, the medical field. So education here is all about making money, having these huge infrastructures, where your return on investment is almost 10 to 12x within 3 years or 5 years. And since you're collecting everything up in advance from the kids, it's really I mean, from a financial perspective, it's a big thing. And I don't know how it's going to change, pandemic or no pandemic. I wish it did change, though.
We had a program on television last year that it called Indian Summers, and they sent, there were 4 weeks where they'd sent some kids from all over England, different areas. They weren't only from London, but they sent our kids to India to an amazing school. It was a really high quality kind of a school. And
Which school?
I've got no idea
Okay.
which school, not even where it was, I'm afraid. I can't remember anything about it except the difference. And the difference between the Indian kids, and actually Indian kids in England have got the same attitude. They love to learn. I think it's a cultural thing that
Yes.
your people encourage the children that by gaining an education, it's going to serve them well in life. Whereas our lot are not taught to listen or care or anything. They're just taught that everything is what you look like, and as long as you've got the right trainers on, you'll be okay. They want to be rich and famous, not because they're talented. They don't sort of look within and find what they enjoy doing or what their best talent is. They just think they could be famous for making a lot of noise or something like that. It's kind of heartbreaking what's happened to England. I feel that we've become the third world nation, while India and various poorer countries, because your countries, India especially, values education, don't you?
You know, that is because we've had thousands of years of a caste system where the Brahmins were the only educated lot, and knowledge was power, and knowledge and literacy was what controlled everything. So everyone who was not from that community has for thousands of years aspired that education is theirs, then we are on equal footing with the Brahmins. I mean, this is historically. So, which is a good thing, because people who would tell me, what's the point in my sending my daughter to school? After all, she's going to get married at the age of 18, and then she'll have to stay at home and look after her family. So why should she go to school? That has now changed, because everybody wants to be educated, literate, and pass off as a Brahmin who knows. So that's probably what has kept education so important. And then the evolution has been that the Brahmins have now gone on to not finding Indian education good enough. So everybody from the community is either in Princeton, Harvard, Cornell, or any of the Ivy Leagues, or they are at Cambridge. I come from a family of people who have got doctoral, from graduation to postdoctorate, from Cambridge, Harvard, and what's that place in Stanford. And they look at me as the village idiot because I never made the grade to go that far.
And how many degrees do you have?
Oh, well, I now have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yeah,
6 degrees. 6
Okay.
degrees now. But I still didn't make it to Harvard.
I think you're doing all right.
Yeah, I am.
Yes. So, my vision for Humanity Rising and all these other things is that all these kinds of activities can help to develop a mindset. And I was worried this morning. I was thinking, well, what happens if things like Humanity Rising and other things that I'm running into, I collect these things. I collect them in my wiki called Other Networks. What happens if they succeed to the point where everybody's talking to everybody else?
We can't hear you, Stan.
Okay, everybody is
okay.
talking to everybody else, and they all start. Everybody's doing it in English, and all the other languages languish, and we lose the gorgeous diversity of language and cultures that are there in the world. Shannon earlier said, well, we're not going to do that, and I hope so. I hope we don't, but we do need to encourage more people in the world to watch what their family wealth has been doing. And I think that's probably the most important thing I think that we can do amongst ourselves with things like Humanity Rising, is to develop a message to the people who are the family members of the people who have the most wealth and ask them, well, what is your wealth doing to save this planet? And I mean, that's, we're not going to be able to find these people who own the oil companies and be able to put their nose to the grindstone and say, here, fix this. But their families could do that. Their families could ask questions. What is our wealth? We have all this wealth. What is our wealth doing to save this planet? And if we can come out of Humanity Rising with an idea that we want to spread that idea, I think that would be a really wonderful thing. So I don't know.
I agree. I actually wrote to Jim quite a long time ago, close to the beginning of Humanity Rising. It wasn't specifically to Jim. It was just something that I'd written down to the universe, if you like, but saying there were to do three things that the people with the money, you know, if money is what's missing, or if money has any purpose, then surely we should talk to the people who've got some, so therefore the richest people again, and get them to maybe pick three rather than call it taxes, because people, certainly in England, why should we pay more taxes? In the Nordic countries that are so successful, apparently they pay a lot of tax because they expect a lot of returns, which is actually fantastic. But for us capitalist people, we don't like the word taxes. So I thought if we change the word and we call it gifts instead, and encourage them that they could gift, for example, three different purposes. You could either go for the Amazon, save the Amazon, you know, because surely if you go and buy lots of the land or give money to the people who are running the show over there, just different policies. So that'd be one thing. The war or the famine in Sudan was another thing that I thought, because so you choose one planetary type thing, one human being type thing that you plowed loads and loads of money into it, and then the other one was going to be water. And then the idea came up with the guy who did a lot of talking about what there was going to be World Water Day, for example. I did actually put those three ideas. I mean, as I say, I wasn't really writing to Jim. It was just I'd written this stuff that it comes out. What do you do with it? You know, and I just thought they're ideas. These are the ideas for me that would save the world. But also, I have to add to that on the education level, the other thing is that us as a group of people, I mean, for me, I'm not qualified as anything. I left school with very few exams passed, and also had children. I mean, I had my first child. I was 16 when I got pregnant. So, and then I had another child, and then I spent my whole life looking after mostly other people's children, to be honest, or a lot of it. But therefore, I decided when my first set of kids reached a certain age, why didn't you go to university, Mum? And I said, I've learned from the University of Life. So I've got no qualification. Even now, it's the same. And I've still got no qualifications, but I spend most of my life teaching people. Lots and lots of people pass through my hands. Somebody came and knocked the door just now. It wasn't a water collector. It was one of my neighbours. But I laughed with her this morning because you've learned so much over the last little 3 months or something. You've really come on a bundle. You've progressed so much, I was saying to her, because I know that she's been learning. And therefore, if all of us, I'm sure we are all doing that, actually. I think that we're all teaching people as we go. And we do it partly by example, partly hardcore information. This is how you learn to deal with people. This is how you can feel better about yourself because you've been nice to people, all that sort of stuff, you know. Yeah. So, yeah, 2 levels, therefore. Teach everybody, love everybody, and let's share the money out a bit more fairly.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I've been studying. I've been studying money, and a friend of mine, who I now consider a friend, was just an author, and she became a friend because I fell in love with her books, and I bought 3 dozen of them, more than 3 dozen of her books, and gave them away. And she wrote a book called The Web of Debt, and she explained how money works, which was, oh my God, it's not that complicated. The powers that be would love you to think that it's so complicated that nobody except them can understand it. And what turns out is that they don't even teach what you really need to know in colleges. It's a really bizarre thing. People go through college and don't learn how money actually works and what could be done to fix the system. I mean, it would be difficult to fix because the people are so entrenched and they have so much power. But there are changes that could be made, and one of the things that I do is I collect stuff into my wikis. I have Wikidelphia, which is supposedly local, and then other networks, which is for the rest of the world. And I just started collecting that one. And I want to put my favorite books in there, and I might have to join Goodreads, and because the things that I've been discovering through reading are mind blowing. I mean, the basis of the American system is our Constitution, and I'm reading that the people that wrote the Constitution were not the people who ran the revolution and who were all excited about democracy. The people that wrote the Constitution were the people who owned land and owned slaves and wanted to protect their property. And so the Constitution of the United States, its main goal is the protection of property. So no wonder we have policemen running around killing people or beating people up, and because that's their job, is to keep people from messing up the property. Okay, it's a very weird thing.
Well, ironically, property that really wasn't theirs to take to begin with. We want to
exactly.
And on the heels of what you're saying about reading, I've actually mentioned in the chat because and I don't know who recommended it, but I've been reading Braiding Sweetgrass, written by, I've forgotten her name. It's almost there. Kimmerer, I believe. And I'm listening to the beautiful audiobook because the author is reading her own words.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a botanist, and she's weaving Native American stories into her upbringing of knowledge of the indigenous people, along with her scientific knowledge. And it's beautiful and simultaneously heartbreaking, as she really draws the comparisons of how the Europeans came in and took away the deep connection that was inherent to the people who were already taking care of this land. And she draws those points home very much. In fact, Kurt in the chat recommended a subsequent book, which I've not gotten to because I'm still listening to this one. But I recommend it highly because I think it speaks, one of the things it speaks to is, and I was going to say earlier, but on the heels of what you've just said, is we do not teach contentment. We teach competition, and competition is a result of capitalism. And we're taught rather a vacant sense of contentment. That word's not really part of what people think about it. Goes back to what she was saying earlier, was that they want to acquire things and impress each other in a shallow way. And that's what's being put out in our society at this point. But as long as we're taking in media at that level, and we have a child peer group who's also watching that media, that's where the values are going to come from, unless there's a deeper connection that's being taught by their parents and their elders. And since it's not coming from the parents, because the parents also had a similar background, it's not going to get instilled at a level of fulfillment and connection to our planet, especially if you're living in the big cities, surrounded by concrete. I was taken by someone running for president early on, Yang, and he had the novel idea of giving everybody, I think it was $2,000. Yeah, and I thought about that, and subsequently, well, a lot of people like to make fun of it, but what I have said very much is, if we take our citizens out of survival, we will have a lack of crime, and we will have a productive society. And I don't go in personally, don't go into the powers that be and all of it. We have many structures in place, and structures that I think we'll see fall over the next few years. But taking people out of survival, nobody should have to spend their life hating their life just to put a roof over their head, or even less, and these days, less than a roof over their head. I mean, I passed a homeless person last year living in LA. They're everywhere. And we're going to look back on this time as one of the most inhumane times of humanity. And I think the time we're in I mean, we're going to see perhaps even greater divides. I can't make that kind of prediction, but I believe that the power of compassion and humanity will move forth through this time, and hopefully we save the planet. But I don't want to speak against capitalism, but I also don't understand its embrace personally. I remember as a small child listening to whoever, whatever power that be, says, grow, 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 we're building, we're constructing. And even as a child, it didn't make sense to me. It makes sense. All this growing, where are we going to grow to? Now they're looking at Mars. I don't really care. You know, it's insanity to me. And we're not taking care of people. And when my recent example is reading the depth of this present book, Braiding Sweetgrass, of the true connection, true connectedness, true touching each other's hearts. And that's what a joyful living is. Even in moments of sadness, to have that embrace of companions, family, Mother Earth, that's a different experience. And that's what we're not teaching.
And
You know,
therefore, is that Malini going to speak?
yeah, Stan, you know, speaking to what you were saying about cooperation and competition in a very skewered, ridiculous way, the Indian colleges have something called NSS. It's called National Social Service. And they do something which is actually good in some ways, is they have a competition of inter-college competition of groups of students who go into nearby villages and help out the villagers in whatever is their need. And the competition is judged on whichever team makes the biggest contribution in benefiting the village that they go into, wins the competition. So it's still a competition, but it's a competition ensuring that these groups of students go into villages, find out what is the most you know, immediate need of that village, and try to see how that they can do better to do it. And I got to know about this because one kid knocked on my door and said, can I please have as many pencils as you have in your house? I said, what you want the pencils for? She says, no, we've adopted this village, and one thing we find is they don't have writing pencils. So we are just collecting pencils from every household and making sure that, I said, how many? And you know, Indian villages, I mean, everywhere we go, there are lots of people. So I think this was about 400 houses in that village, which meant that they were looking at something like 10,000, 15,000 pencils. So I said, how are you going to get it? They said, yeah, it's okay. Each one of us, we are 40 in a class, and 40 of us will put in 10 pencils each. And then each one of us will go to 20 houses and collect 5 pencils from each house, and we'll give it. So it's still a competition between teams, but it's an innovative way of doing a competition. But I would like to have taken the competition part of it out and just have them understand the value of adopting a village and finding out what the village needs, rather than them deciding that, oh, this is what we're going to give. And this is the objection I have with rich people donating money, because it happens in India all the time, and you're landed up with so much of villages and communities are landed up with stuff that they don't really need or have use for, because the people who are donating don't go and ask, what is it that you really need and want that we can give? They just give. And so much of food is just thrown in the drains, because people just decided, oh, we're going to go and give 100 loaves of bread. And those people don't eat bread. They don't want bread. They want something completely different. One villager told me, I wish, you know, they would give us a liter of kerosene so that we could light the lamps in our house to, you know, I mean, So we have to work with what people need. I don't know if the NSS is there. It's a regular government established institution, which is a fantastic network. I mean, in India, we do everything in large numbers, large structure, because we're such a populous country. And that's where good projects also get derailed because of the sheer volume of work that is required. But there are pockets of things that could be learned and shared internationally.
You've reminded me, actually, that was part of this curriculum of my proposal, was bringing the students together to decide on projects. And they would work together to decide, and then they would work together to accomplish. And it was about reaching out to community as they saw fit and within their capabilities of what they could do. I need to pull my proposal out and look at it. It's been a long time, but to develop, rather than having the competition, it's engaging them to work together and to create a better world.
Yeah, if you want to, you can post it or send it to us. Is it on electronic form? Is it on paper?
I have it. I haven't looked at it in so long.
Yeah.
I'm not quite prepared, but I mean, it's in my computer somewhere. It's just sort of getting reactivated as a result of Humanity Rising and these conversations.
Right. It's making you think about it.
Yeah, I thought it was passé, but I'm hearing these things and I go, well, I will take another look.
Every idea is useful in the right place, and
yeah.
I have dozens of ideas. I post them on my websites. I have whole pages that are called idea pages, and I have an index of idea pages. You can look and see all my ideas.
Stan,
how do we bring them together? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, is there a forum where teachers and educators or people who are interested in this field of communicating education to the children or the groups who would like to, where we could share, like Lane has her proposals. I have all my templates, like her, I'll have to pull them out once I go back home. I'm in Mumbai in the lockdown till September. I hope it doesn't go beyond September. But once I get back to Delhi, I haven't stepped out of the house. Today is day 124. I haven't opened the door and stepped out.
So, yeah, it's interesting. It's stuck. We're all stuck. Go ahead.
No, I'm having time to do other things, which I wouldn't have done if I was to go out of the house. So when I go back to Delhi, I'd like to put this together and give it to the community that could actually make use of it. So is there a forum or a community or a group that would be willing to accept? Yeah,
okay.
Sure.
Can I tell you what I do?
Yeah.
I index things. And that's what I call my websites are indexes. So I've been indexing, well, first with Philadelphia. I have 2,500 pages of references to what's going on here in Philadelphia. And now I realized that I was putting all kinds of stuff into Wikipedia that belongs in the rest of the world. So I needed to start something else that at least it makes sense. That it's not, why is this in here? This isn't about Philadelphia. This is Humanity Rising. It's about the rest of the world. So so I started Other Networks, and Other Networks is the name of my newsletter from the 80s. I published a paper-based newsletter in the 1980s almost for 10 years. One issue a year. We have those copies. They're actually mounted on the Internet Archive if you want to go and read what I was doing in the 80s, where I was writing about the development of social media, and from paper-based conferencing to computer bulletin boards, and then of course towards the internet. But where am I going? Oh, well, if you have stuff that you want to make public, or where things are, then we need to collaborate and put the information into Wikipedia or into Other Networks, and what I like to do is to sit with somebody and go through what it is that we've already found, and see what meets your interest. So yes, the answer is there a repository of materials or places or whatever? That's what I'm doing. So yes, I have that. It's not fully, it doesn't cover the entire world yet. I've only had opportunity to put about 80 or 100 pages in it. But there are other people. One of the things I like to collect are other people that are collecting, and so I have listings for people that are also doing similar kind of work in different arenas. And there was another conference that went on in May called Rebel Wisdom, and that was very interesting. I found a lot of people, interesting folks through that conference. And Carlos just wrote to me. We'll see what happens with the email. But anyway, the reason that I started the email component of this process is so that we don't have to be here in face to face to tell everything we know. We can write it down, and we can put larger things in that can go into a chat. So bodies of information or references to things, let's email them to each other. And yeah, I'm gonna get hungry in a minute. I actually am. So how about if we wind this down for today, and we continue to share information through the email. If you've not been on the email, I have an email list called Chatpeople. You're new, right, Diane? I have your email address, right?
Yesterday, because during the day I realized that I was gonna only be able to be here for a short time.
Yes.
I tried emailing you, and every time I tried, the email got sent back again.
Oh.
Even when, I mean, I used the ordinary, just used your email address and wrote a new letter, and it got rejected. And then I wrote in reply to your email that I'd done in the first place, that went through quite nicely the first time, and second time around it didn't go anywhere. So I'm a bit worried. I didn't have a chance to try today.
Okay. Well,
I'll try again tomorrow or later. Don't worry. I'm just mentioning it.
All right. Well, I mean, I can give you my phone number as well. But if you're, I don't know what else to say. I have lots of email addresses, but the one I'm using for this is stancommunitymagic.org.
Yeah.
And you have that. It's pretty straightforward, and it works most of the time.
I mean,
it's
I'd
not
done it
.com.
last time and it got through to you. It must have done because you replied to it. So.
Oh, good. Okay.
So I don't know what went wrong. I'm just mentioning, and I'll try again anyway. Don't worry.
All right. Excellent. And I started the email list so that everybody can put in with one address, chatpeople at communitymagic.org, and 15 or 20 people will get that message.
Lovely.
And, I just fixed it so that we have the individual's email address comes up correctly so that people can write to each other individually.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Lovely.
All right. Well, thank you. And Melanie, thank you for this morning. She and I had a nice chat earlier today. And Blaine, thank you for joining us. I don't know if you're still there.
Thank you. I sent a chat.
Okay. And did you email me? And you got a notice from me about this process? I don't remember whose names I have in the email list.
Who are you speaking to?
Huh?
Are you speaking to me?
I'm speaking to Lane. Yes, Lane.
Oh,
You're Lane?
okay.
You're Lane. Okay.
I
I'll probably
received an
like that.
email back.
Huh?
I received the link via email.
Okay, good. All right. So then you'll continue to get emails from me.
Great.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you both. All. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Stan.
See you again tomorrow if you want
See
to
you,
come on. I'm
Lane
going to try to
and
do this
Diane.
every day that people are interested. We'll see how long it lasts.
If I come tomorrow, it'll be for a short time. Is it? No, it's not. No. Oh, Thursday. It's okay. I'm okay.
No, tomorrow's Wednesday.
Yeah.
In most part of the world, tomorrow's Wednesday. All right. Take care.
Take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye.
All right.